Hey folks, Ben from Diamondback. I'm here with Sean from Diamondback as well. We're out here on our Flat Range Friday days, going over some different AR-15s. We were just talking about, the nitty gritty of this SP01. So this is a Colt SP01, which, it doesn't say that, does it? No, it does, SP1. Yeah, it's a genuine SP1, man. That's wild.
This is a factory original Colt SP1. This was the first commercially available carbine AR variant that was introduced to the North American market. Every AR-15 that we have out here is a derivative of this to a very strong degree. This firearm, we have this over at Diamondback. This is an absolute classic if you're into nostalgia. And if you want something that is fun, spirited, lightweight, it's missing the forward assist, it's got no fencing on the side. This is a very early, very cool AR-15.
Yeah, just some of the weird things we're going over on it. The buttstock alone is, what, $200, something like that? These old aluminum guys, right?
I believe that is a vinyl acetate coated buttstock. And yes, the originals are worth a fortune. Yes, they are.
We were looking over just some of the neater things, like the castle nut here is one of the original castle nuts. So you can see the difference between like one of the modern ones. We have our now more modernized, this is typically our castle nut that we see on everything. Then we got this guy, and it's just slightly different, just kind of gives it that feel, that vibe. It's got the Fortunate Son vibes going on, right? As we're sitting here talking about it. We got that A2, but it's slick up front here, larger button, takedown buttons, that nice pencil barrel. It's just a neat gun, but to give it, the real reason that we have it out here is to kind of give a base of where does this all start? Where does it all come from? And that's why we brought this guy. Still shoots great. Love the gun. Guys, rifles are rifles, right? Training is training. Spend $1,000 of training and $500 on a rifle if you can. Okay, so we offer training at the shop. We have all these guns here for sale at the store, obviously. We're going to go over a couple things, just some of the main upgrades and differences that we do with our firearms and our ARs. Shawnee, you want to run the timer?
Absolutely.
Shooter ready, stand by.
Stand by.
Still bumping it. All right, mil-spec trigger, let's go.
Shooter ready. Stand by.
It's fun. I love this gun. The only thing I would change on it is shorten that barrel up. A barrel should be a little bit shorter, and we can make it like we were running through the jungle with this bad boy. But a lot of fun, great guns, a lot of history to them. Absolutely love them. All right, guys, so for our next one, it's, again, good, better, and best. So we got our classics that we love to have, our retro builds, everything we like there. This is a radical AR-15. It's the RF-15. It's somewhat of their base model. It's a little bit different fore-end rail. We don't have sights on this guy. We're shooting paper at 7 yards. We don't need sights for that with rifles. But a really genuinely good rifle for the price. We're talking, what, sub $600, I believe, somewhere around there. And again, it's a good rifle to start with as a base. When you're looking at some of these, one thing, if you're particularly getting into the market, one thing is to look at the gas system. We have a mid-length gas system on this, so it's going to shoot a little bit flatter. Let's go ahead and rip it.
All righty. Shooter ready? Stand by.
A little high on the right there. Let's try it again.
Shoot.
Oh, missed the steel. All right. Yeah, almost got the head box. Almost. It matters what you start with as long as you're comfortable with what you're starting with. You like the gun, it feels comfortable, it's within your price range, it's within your budget. I think that's really what we're looking at when you're getting into a base AR-15 rifle. So again, good, better, and best. Let's go grab something that's a little bit more up there in price.
Stick this in the freezer.
It's already hot, yeah. Is that recording?
Yeah, that
Okay. All right, folks, well, it's hot in Arizona and our cameras tend to overheat, so Bear's running around doing that. We're continuing on the way. So the Colt SP01, we got that one for about $1,300 on the wall. that classic retro. That Radical's selling at $575, and then we have a Smith & Wesson. It's an M&P 15 base model. I do like the Smith & Wessons as far as base models more than anything. They're $800 now. When I started in the industry in 2016, they were $425. But, you know, times change, right? A little bit different system here. Again, we're following that mid-length. Otherwise, it's pretty much a bog mil-spec standard. Forward assist on one side, obviously, but everything is just kind of standard on it. Your A2 flash hider, etc. I do like the fact that they have like a 3-nut barrel clamp on there for the gas block, which is pretty cool. But let's go ahead and shoot it a little bit and just kind of go after it.
All right, and folks, to remind you, this is our better category. So we've done good.
Better.
This is better.
Better. I'll remember eventually on one of these. There's always a first run, right?
Shooter ready.
Yep.
Stand by.
I missed. One more. So that's trigger freeze, trigger pause, however you want to call it. But the idea here is it'll happen when I'm shooting my $2,000 gun too. All right, folks, continuing right down the way. Kind of more to our best model. So I'm a huge fan of Daniel Defense. Again, when we're talking about when these upped in price, we're talking about the DDM V7 Pros. What makes the Pro is the trigger. But I remember when these were 1,800, and I, you know, getting nostalgic today, but, you know, we're looking at 2,150 for this guy on the wall. Obviously, Daniel Defense, this is what you're known for, is putting grips way out front for whatever reason. And we were talking about it. It would make sense if it was Picatinny and like save time, but it's M-lock. You just put it away from the gas block. It's hot there. So
the target demographic is giants.
Yeah, giants and giants. For those of us that grew up under power lines. So rifle length system, we do have an H1 in there, the Geisley trigger. So this is more or less kind of what the upgrades are. I'm not a huge fan of the furniture. To me, it's kind of sticky, but that's everyone's personal preference. Ambidextrous charging handle, non-ambidextrous controls, just standard controls on this guy. The next up from this for Daniel Defense would be the Riz 3s. Those are completely ambidextrous on their lowers. But yeah, nice break on there. I mean, it's a good little gun. It's a good way to start if you were just not want to put a lot into a gun, I suppose. But if I were to get this, like a couple things I would do right off the bat, I like to have anti-walk pins. I like to have, you know, instead of a 90-degree throw, I like a 60-degree throw on my safety.
Ben, question for our folks there at home. If you were getting into AR-15s and you wanted a turnkey kind of top shelf firearm that all you needed to do was select your optic, do you think that this would be a viable choice?
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah, at that point, this is, you know, it's a $300 trigger. I mean, you can look at it that way. All right, shoot the thing.
All righty.
Do a couple runs here, and I can't help myself. I have to do it, so. I have to. This is for you. This is for you, Daniel Defense.
Shooter ready. Stand by. Oh, it's off. Shit. Oops. There we go. You just keep standing by.
It was. It's because I touched this.
Yeah.
It's just juju up here.
You upset it. All right. Shooter ready. Stand by. Woo!
That one's not bad. Yeah, there we go. A little better. Let's go to the steel.
Shooter ready. Stand by.
Oh! There you go. Fucking steel! It's a nice shooting gun. I do like them. I like them a lot. And a lot of that, the table manners on this is going to be that rifle length system. You got a rifle length system with an H1 in there, an H1 buffer, and they shoot like a dream, dude. They really do shoot really nice. Kind of coming more into the modern world. One thing that I think everyone knows, like we said, right? You don't need a $1,000 gun right out the gate or a $2,000 gun right out the gate, right? You need it, you don't need it. Everyone's got different personal preference. Everyone has different wallet sizes. So how we look at that and how you debate that is totally up to you. But after shooting these, you can tell what's the difference between a $575 gun or an $800 gun in Smith & Wesson. And I can form to tell that it's absolutely the quality of the manufacturing is why they're putting more dollars into it. But when we look at just some of the aspects there, right? Like a Smith & Wesson is going to use our standard Bog A2 furniture, and they're going to spend a little bit more money on maybe MPI testing for that bolt carrier group, the magnetic testing. Meanwhile, like a Radical, we go, maybe it's a little bit less testing on that bolt carrier group and that bolt. And then we got B5 furniture as an upgrade, or that nice kind of full rail out front with the Picatinny up front. So you don't have to be dedicated to M-LOK if you didn't want to. Both the guns, they did a really good job knowing that running especially for new shooters, if you're just kind of getting into it, you want as much table manners as you possibly can get out of an AR-15. And the ways you're going to do that is by elongating that gas system out. Instead of having like a carbine length gas system, once we go to a mid-length or like this Daniel has even to a rifle length gas system, it adds a lot of table manners to the gun. The gun typically sits a lot flatter when you're shooting just because it has a longer dwell time of the gas going through the gas port and back into the bolt key. The other side of that to add table manners obviously comes into the butt end here, one of our buffers. And so when I say I have an A5 tube on my gun, it's just slightly longer. I believe Voltor was the first ones that made those. Now there's a plethora of companies that make them, and it's a little bit longer tube, a little bit longer buffer. And the whole idea is that instead of rocking to the rear, we're able to increase dwell time on a flat plane. And so that increases this movement rather than this or any other movement coming forward or back, up, sideways, etc. Same kind of deal. You add that heavier buffer in there. You know, the Daniel comes with an H1. H3s are pretty much specifically for full auto. You might want to get into an H2 once you get into running suppressors or running shorter length. Sometimes having a heavier buffer can help. You do want to watch out if you're getting into that weight on the buffer. It's forcing the bolt carrier forward, so you can end up with what's called bolt bounce. And essentially, as the bolt's trying to come in and lock into that star chamber, what ends up happening is it comes in and hits and kind of bounces off itself. So you got to watch out if you're going to tune them and go that route. But the good folks at my store should be able to help you with all that stuff. That's why I pay them. So, well, I think the idea, the best, right? What's the best? The best is your gun. I think that stands true. You know, and to start with anything, I think during that journey, which you know, I know, we've all done it, right? Either buy a base AR-15 and then eventually you've done so many modifications to it, you have 2 rifles, right?
Yeah.
So I think, again, the best is going to be what's your personal preference and where you really are trying to amplify certain aspects of the platform. So do I want something that's short, lightweight, and shoots super fast? That's going to change. You know, that's where we can change the tuning of it. Do I want something carbine, more rifle length? Obviously, rifle length is something longer. So now I want that muzzle velocity, like we were talking about a friend that came in for a Coyote gun. And it was, well, do I really need a Daniel Defense? Like, it's a ranch gun. I want it in my truck just to shoot the coyotes when they're coming after my cattle. Get a base AR-15, a Smith & Wesson. That's the better, you know? Somewhere in the better. It's reliable. It's got a good name behind it. You can count on it. It's going to work. And you don't need it to have so many table manners. I don't need it to be the smoothest, best shooting thing ever because I'm not going to run it in competition.
No.
It's going to sit in the back of my truck with an LPVO on it, and I'm going to be able to shoot coyotes out to 600 all day long.
Exactly, and that it's a hard-working ranch-style gun. You're not going to be heartbroken if you throw it in the back of the John Deere Gator, it gets scraped up, that type of thing. So better would definitely, you know, suit somebody for a working gun. Perhaps the good category would be, hey, I'm brand new into this, but I don't plan on spending too much time on the range.
Right. I mean, we still have to feed these things, and ammo's not cheap. You know, so I think that's the idea. The best is what you really need. Better is you're more duty driven, they're purpose driven to it. Good enough. I like shooting. I like guns that go bang. I want to go to the range and have a fun time, and I go with my friends once a year. Fine. That's perfectly acceptable. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, there's too many people that are screaming about going and touching grass 5 times a week. You know what I mean? Like, it's silly to me. It's okay to buy a gun that you have for purely fun, and you do enough training with it where you can defend your life with it. You know, okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So I think we get too wrapped into the weeds when we try to use, you know, dollar values to incorporate what we're actually getting for the guns. You know, what do you really want out of it? If I need something that is, I'm going to do backflips out of Blackhawks, you know, maybe I want a Knight's Armament, you know, that's the way, right? Like,
And definitely we are seeing, you know, there are many agencies, correct me if I'm wrong here, Ben, many law enforcement agencies across the United States that utilize the M&P 15 as a issued duty rifle. So if somebody was wanting something that has a pedigree, that is already being procured and, you know, has a track record, we definitely have that in all 3 of these guns, but M&P jumps out. I do know, according to you, that Daniel Defense is procured by agencies as well. You know,
that's
the more
actually
higher tiered, officers.
Yeah, that's a great talking point. That's a good point, actually, just thinking about it. Like, you know, some of the smaller agencies that don't have a lot of funding, that can't necessarily afford your Daniel Defenses, your LMTs, your LWRCs, you know, that high category, Knight's Armament, you know, those guys. Those agencies that can't afford that kind of stuff, there's plenty of them that are running M&Ps, you know, Smith & Wessons. Definitely more towards the smaller agencies. The other big popular gun that I do need to give a shout out to in that sense is Psionics. They have a lot of law enforcement agencies that they do sell with, and those guys are good guys over there. They make a quality rifle. And then, there's, once an agency has money, like, I don't think it's any secret, so I can't not say it, but, you know, some of the larger agencies in Arizona run Daniel Defenses. And I think that was an excellent choice for what we're looking at as far as a duty gun that's going to have all those table manners where now I'm taking a hostage shot on, you know, someone that's holding a baby hostage at 50 yards. You need the confidence in the rifle to be able to make that shot, right? And that's what they really look for. That's what they're going for, which makes sense. I mean, it's doable with either one. But at that point, how much are we putting into training value? How much are we really getting out on that range and shooting? You know, what are we really getting after? Well, yeah, law enforcement side, they've been doing that. I actually was talking to the Radical rep last show, and he was telling me about they have a couple agencies that actually went with Radicals across the United States.
Really?
Yeah.
So we can say that all 3 of these, good, better, best, however we want to denote that quality, they're all adopted and trusted by American law enforcement. Some
agency somewhere, yeah, absolutely. Somewhere in the United States, somebody's running them. And I believe it's not the RF-15 from Radical. They have an LE version. I do believe that they're putting out a little bit more attentive to some of those parts and pieces, you know. But yeah, absolutely.
One last thing I wanted to ask you about, Ben, is, so let's say that you're a new shooter. You've seen all 3 of these. You like aspects of all 3 of these. You have a certain budget in mind that's somewhere in the middle. At Diamondback, with our qualified gunsmiths, can we build you what you want?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's kind of where the shop's where I've been pushing it more and more. We absolutely have complete rifles on the wall. We're going to have complete rifles. We're going to have complete guns forever. But I do think that where I want to take the shop is much more towards the custom side. I personally think we have the best gunsmiths on the West Coast, but that's me. Definitely Southern Arizona, for sure. I think our gunsmiths are bar none. The only ones that I wouldn't think, outside of Kevin and Miguel, would be Travis at Pollinger Customs. The knowledge in which those guys can build guns and put it together. But that being said, if, exactly, right, like my budget's $1,000, well, the Radical with an optic and a couple hundred rounds, okay, you're there. But, you also can look at it where, I really want that Daniel Defense quality, but I really don't like the furniture that's on there. Well, don't buy a $2,100 gun and end up immediately spending, $200 changing all your furniture.
Yeah.
just start from the bottom up. And that's why we have a lot of uppers from Daniel Defense, is specifically because their furniture isn't loved by all, shall we say.
It's definitely unique.
It's unique.
It's not for everybody. I get that. Some people like the more traditional style, M4 stuff, the more upgraded B5 stuff.
The obvious important thing to talk about with Daniel Defense is this grip here. I mean, this essentially what happens when you're shooting AR-15s, you have Coriolis effect that happens, the spin of the earth.
You lose the muzzle and the
stops
grip.
all that.
Yeah, okay.
Because that's why it's so far out.
It is.
Right? It's like you saw, how we operate.
Yes.
That's operator right there. It's the way to do it. I guess that's kind of the funny thing, right? Like at some point we like grips, we like forward grips, we like hand stops. We like having this stuff on our gun, and I think it goes full circle. I think at some point you start adding stuff to your gun, and then eventually I have a 16-pound M4 that I don't want to carry anymore.
Well, it ruins.
And then you start taking everything off it.
The magic of the Armalite pattern is its lightness. I mean, I would even hazard to use the word effervescent in the hand, and you get that with the very early SP1s, but as you said, you start adding all those gadgets and gizmos.
Right.
Now you have a gun that weighs a ton, and it's not so pleasant to shoulder and carry long term.
Carry around, anything, yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of the way, I guess, where it gets a little bit more into the woods, like if I wanted to build a competition dedicated gun. Well, at that point, I have no problem doing a $300, $400 light bolt carrier group and, unrivaled system, basically. I love Unrivaled's products. As far as competitive AR-15s go, I think those products are bar none the best on the market right now for what you can build out of that. Then we're adding, captured buffer systems and light carriers and giant brakes that are super big and long and loud and tunable brakes. And when you're building something like that, it's the same way as we would build something that's dedicated for duty, right? If I'm a law enforcement officer and I'm a duty and I want this out of it, that's what we're going to do. For that being said, like I had a 10.5-inch barrel on that for a long time and eventually realized like I want the ballistic performance. So 10.5, 10.3 was just a little bit shy of what I wanted ballistically out of the gun. So I changed it to a Roscoe. That's actually a Roscoe intermediate length. They call it their patrol length gas system. So it's actually in between a mid length and a rifle length and an intermediate length, honestly. So it's a 13.7 barrel. And that way I'm shooting about 2,700 feet per second, but that's what I wanted out of it. That's why it's my do-all, right? I can go to war with it. I can protect my home with it. I can shoot coyotes with it. I could shoot a match with it. I can shoot PCSL all day with that thing. It does everything, right?
A true Swiss Army knife build.
It's the idea, yeah. Alrighty, so what is the best? The best gun is your gun. It's what you like to shoot and your preference of how you set it up. So this, it started life as the LMT Mars Lower from, I bought it in 2017. This has seen 3 different barrels, multiple different uppers, shot 6 arc with it, all kinds of stuff. So a little bit of the upgrades that I kind of found that I enjoyed doing along this journey. I like to keep it somewhat simple. This is kind of my home defense gun. This is my go-to battle rifle, if you want to think about it that way. Just keeping it real simple. An optic that never dies. It's the Comp M5s from Aimpoint. I do like a little bit of a pad to it, but I have the optional push button. So if the pad or the wire ever fails, my light doesn't go down. And that's the Surefire Scout Turbo. I did top it off with a Hux pickle, a little Hux can on there. I do like this one a lot. It's certainly lightweight. The titanium 5.56s that I've seen run on these are exceptionally quiet for the weight. They're really impressive. I did go full absolute retard with this. So everything is 100% ambidextrous on both sides. Why I did that, I don't know. I never use those controls, but it is what it is. When I'm unloading to show clear, I use those controls. Then finally I added on the A5 system, and this one's actually the BCM, I believe, A5 system. Could be wrong, it could be Sons of Liberty. I have 2 of them on 2 different rifles. I like the B5 furniture on here. I've been shooting ergo grips for 20 years, so that's always going to be on there. And then I run it off with CMC triggers. I like single stage triggers. That's just my personal preference, other than a 2-stage. But other than that, this is my dedicated gun that I've had forever. When you're looking at building all this out, we're probably somewhere around the price point of that Daniel Defense, or you could have been. I think these LNTs are going for about $600, $750 now. I really can't remember. Maybe they're back down to $400, which is somewhat reasonable. Daniel Defense rail on here. I went, full Picatinny, but so yeah.
Question, Ben. So this firearm that you built, this is your go-to. Everything that is on this firearm, can you get that at Diamondback?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, everything on here you can buy at the store. That's typically what I do with a lot of guns, is I'm running it to try different things for the customers, and we try to do that at the shop. When we build stuff, we try to use the parts that we have so we can give positive feedback, or negative feedback for that matter, if it comes for it, if it calls for it. But yeah. Ah. Yeah. Whew. Not too gassy, but you start getting gassy once you start running it like that. I mean, when we're talking about suppressors, it gets weird when people say, like, how much do you really want to run? If I sat here and mag dumped 4 mags, I'd be in a cloud of smoke. I mean, you just deal with it. So if you want to shoot fast, learn to breathe through smoke.
Before we finish up though, Ben, you and I were talking previously about why you like the Hux Works. What is it about this can that drew you to it?
Well, for having the back pressure, on other cans that are out there, it is the first to do the high flow system. Nobody else has ever copied that in any way, shape, or form. But most cans that have this flow through system, it does keep the gas out of your face. So, like even right now, like I said, if you're mag dumping, you're going hard, you're gonna start feeling like you're just breathing in gas. That's one of the reasons. The other reason is without that buildup of back pressure, it keeps the gun a lot cleaner. So a lot more goes out the front. And then the main thing is just the weight. I like that it's self-tightening. I leave it's a dedicated can, so it stays on this gun. If you wanted something with a quick detach to go from different guns to guns, different caliber to caliber, it would make a lot of sense to go a different route. That's actually what my first generation was the original OSS. And once you get this hot and get it on there, it's kind of difficult to change it from gun to gun. But all that being said, having a dedicated can for it, it's absolutely perfect for its use. I can shoot it with no ear pro, not feel anything, but people around me feel like, they still can hear well, but it is what
Excellent.
it is.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ben.
Thanks. Woohoo! Man, feels weird to shoot over that camera, I'll tell you that much.